Now, on Monday, there was a rumour. On Tuesday, there were offers. And finally, today, David Haye announced his retirement from the sport and business of boxing. It is his 31st birthday. He's been saying for a long time that October the 13th, 2011 would be the end. Today, he made it official. I was at his South London gym with Five Lives Mick Costello. We have both watched this kid, Haye, for years and years, when he was a boy at the Fitzroy Lodge, through to European title fights, world title fights. It's been a decent journey. No, it's been a great journey, to be honest. Anyway, Mick started off by asking David whether his mind had wavered over today's decision during the last few weeks.
Yeah, after I lost my fight, that's the first thing I was like, I have to have a rematch, you know. But, you know, knowing Vladimir, knowing how Team Klitschko are, you know, that was never going to happen. And it's clearly obvious. I put my services out there for him, and he chose to fight Jean-Marc, someone I've knocked out, you know, a few years ago. So that pretty much says to me, you know, his intention of having a rematch with me. He doesn't need to. He beat me fair and square, so he doesn't need to. He's not forced into a rematch. You know, he fights. If you look through his career, he hasn't made a career of fighting dangerous guys who people aren't sure he was going to win. No, he needs to be 100% sure he's going to win the fight. And to do that, you've got to fight guys like Jean-Marc, you know, guys who he's completely, you know, just too big for, too strong, too skillful for.
So if you had been offered either a rematch or a showdown with the other brother, Vitaly Klitschko, you would have carried on?
At one stage, no doubt about it, that's all I wanted. I wanted, you know, some sort of road to redemption. I wanted to just really, you know, I just wanted to prove that, you know, that wasn't me in there at night. I can do better. There's more to come, you know. But you can drive yourself mad. You know, I did at one stage drove myself a little mental, thinking about it too much, not sleeping. And then once you realise that, you know, they had got what they need. You know, Vladimir's beating me. You know, the Klitschkos have got a win over Haye, whether it's Vitaly or Vladimir. They've got a win over David Haye. They've got the title. You know, so they're going to move on and carry on doing what they've done their whole career. And, you know, they're not the type of guys, you know, to seek out dangerous opponents. You know, Vitaly will be fighting Chris Ariola in, I think, talking about in March, in February or March. You know, someone he's already beaten up pretty easy, or very easy in actual fact. I think he won every single round of that. So that shows you the type of what they've done to the heavyweight division and what they're going to continue to do to the heavyweight division. You know, I always believed that a fight between me and either one of those guys would, you know, even after my last fight, would get people excited. But obviously they didn't see it that way. So, you know, you got to move on. You got to move on with your life, and I've just got to accept that. You know, the achievements that I have had in boxing, they're excellent, and I've got to, you know, embrace them, and you know, winning the WBC and WBA and the Ring Magazine title. You was there live in Levallois in Paris. You know, I've got to remember those nights. You know, the good nights, the nights where, you know, things went my way. You know, obviously the big nights with Enzo Maccarinelli and, you know, John Ruiz, and obviously the fighting Nikolai Valiev, the giant. You know, I've had great nights, and I've got to focus and remember on, you know, the positives of my career. You know, I had one bad night. It happens, you know, and I've got to move on.
What about the cynic in me that would say, well, this is a ploy to get them to up their offer?
You know, then you'll have to look, you know, if that ploy was in place 10 years ago, you know, which is when I said I'd retire on this very day. Then, you know, unless I've got a crystal ball and I knew that they'd be around potentially talking about a fight, then, you know, it's always been the day I was going to retire. You know, at one stage I was thinking, okay, you know, if we can make the fight, then, you know, push it back a few months and, you know, get this fight done. But, you know, Adam knows Bunter very well. We've had hours and hours of dealings with these guys, and he said, you know, it's not going to happen. They know how to get out of a fight. They know how not to negotiate, how to talk about it in the press to make it appear as though they want to fight, but in reality they're just saying no, it's not going to happen. So, you know, I don't need to fight. That's the thing. A lot of fighters need to fight. They have to fight, you know, to pay the bills. You know, I'm one of the fortunate ones who's in that category. You know, I've done well. You know, myself and Adam, we've promoted our own fights. We've done things on our own terms, and we've been rewarded as such. And you know, I'm happy with my career. You know, inside and outside the ring, I brought a lot of excitement, and entertainment to boxing, and hopefully, you know, the guys coming through, you know, Amir Khan and Carl Froch, you know, and all the young lions coming through, they can continue to, you know, keep exciting.
What about on the domestic scene, David? If in 18 months' time Tyson Fury or David Price, promising young British heavyweights in a position that you were once in, have come through and have maybe moved into the vacancy left by the Klitschko brothers, who maybe have retired, and there's a big domestic showdown out there, is that a possibility?
Nah, no. You know, these guys. You know, David Price, for instance, he's a very, very good fighter. I believe he's going to be the next. I believe he's the best. You know, but behind myself, I believe he's the best, the best out there in Britain, and I believe he'll show that in the next coming months. He's a friend of mine. I've always supported him. You know, I've known him since the amateurs, and I definitely think he's going to carry on. But the only fighter I would have considered fighting is someone whose surname is Klitschko. That's it. And I've done my. I've paid my dues. I've had my domestic fights. I've had my European fights. I've had my world title mandatory challenges. I've had the John Ruiz of the world. No, I don't need to do that. The only fight I would have considered was a mega fight with Klitschko, and that's it. I'm the only time I'll be anywhere near a ring with any domestic guys is to support them. When they're going on to fight for European titles and world titles.
So after 20 years of such dedication, David, is this a sad day?
No, it does. It's not. It's a different chapter. It's a new chapter coming. The boxing chapter's ended, and I'm 31 years old. I believe I'm in good health. Physically, mentally, I'm still where I was when I first got into boxing. A couple of scars and a flatter nose and maybe a little bit, but other than that, I'm healthy, and I've got the rest of my life to look forward to.
You were heavily criticised after that performance against Vladimir Klitschko, which is now the one that you're going to leave the sport on. Were you hurt by that criticism?
No, the way you got to listen to what I say before the fights. There's always going to be a backlash. If you talk big and you don't produce the goods, you're going to get some stick. And that's exactly what happened. The same thing for any of my other fights. If I'd have lost to Audley Harrison, if I'd lost to John Ruiz, if I'd lost to Value, I would have got exactly the same amount of stick. It's just part and parcel with boxing, and like I said, I didn't take it to heart. It was quite amusing, most of the stuff that was written. But I believe you don't remember Sugar Ray Leonard for his loss to Hector Camacho. You don't remember Muhammad Ali losing to Trevor Berbick. You remember the fights that the exciting fights they were in, and the entertaining fights when they was in their prime, and when they were really really doing things. So what I say after a fight, or what bits of criticism people had of me, people remember what they want to remember.
What now?
Now I take it easy. Take it easy for a little while. For my whole life has been training. Really focusing on just grafting away. There's a fight in the future. I've got to just keep working towards that. And I always trained very hard for a fight. I took very little time off. Fight for the fight against Vladimir. I trained pretty much 6 months straight for that fight. A lot longer than most fighters train, because I'm a smaller guy. I'm the guy, with the physical disadvantages. I had to make sure that I was fitter and stronger, and as fit and strong as it was humanly possible. And that's why I've had so much success. Vladimir's knocked out most of his opponents. He hit me with his best shots, and many people thought if he would have done that, he would have knocked me out. But I proved, if you train hard enough, you can take big bombs. At least people won't say I'm chinny. I've always had that label of being a chinny with no heart. So at least people won't say that.
What about replacing the buzz, David? You've spoken about going into acting.
Yeah, definitely. That's for me. That's the next stage. I've got to become the best actor I can be. I've got to learn the craft, learn the art, and I'm looking forward to new challenges. Stressing myself and putting myself in uncomfortable positions, as I'm sure acting will put me in, and just getting out of my comfort zone. And I'm looking forward to that. I want to be the best possible actor I can be. And to do that, you've got to work. I remember Mickey Rourke saying to me, he said, you get out of it what you put in, and if you want to be a good actor, just like you want to be a good boxer, you can't just turn up and expect to be a great boxer. You've got to do the road work. You've got to really put it in. You've got to study. You've got to learn. You've got to graft. And I'm willing to do that. So I'm looking forward to a future in acting.
Sorry about that noise that occasionally happened. That's the gym's actually inside a railway arch in Vauxhall, and those are the trains, and there's nothing you can do no matter how good your mics are. It just gets that terrible rumbling noise. Anyway, David Haye is officially retired, but watch this space. I suggested to him that he make contact with Paddy Considine, who's a friend of the show, and his movie Tyrannosaur came out last week and got one of the most staggering reviews in The Telegraph, The Independent, The Guardian, and the Times. Just a staggering series of reviews, and the Indie. And well, he's a boxing nut, so it'll be quite interesting. Because as I said to David, no disrespect to Jason Statham and what's his face, Vinnie Jones, but come closer. They're not really very good actors, Dave. And if that's your measuring stick, you're going to get there in about 8 minutes flat. You know, someone like Paddy Considine, that's your man. He'll get a couple of BAFTAs this year. He'll certainly get Best Director, I would imagine. Anyway, that's David Haye, and we love David Haye on this show. Anyway.